So this is another test case, which is also on the lecture site. You can take a look. And this part over here, we have done it last time. So this part over here is just about, this part here is just about setting up the nodes and setting up the parent and child references, right? So for this part here, we can skip the tracing since we did it last time. So the result from this block over here is we got this node, and this node. It's a binary search tree because we got 21, 28, 35 sorted. And we got 4 external nodes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let me now put the references, okay? So we got N28, N21, N35, right? N28, N21, and also N35, right? So these are the 3 internal nodes. And also we got 4 external nodes. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is external nodes number 1, external nodes number 2, external nodes number 3, also external nodes number 4, right? And I'm omitting about parent and child references, right? That's that one you know from last time. Okay, let's focus more on how the binary search is gonna return based on what we learned from the previous page. Okay, I'm gonna look at 2 lines. You can look at other lines yourself as well as exercise. The first line to look at would be this one here. And the second line would be right here. Okay, it will nicely illustrate again. This one here is going to be a successful search because we say that we're going to start with N28. Start with the root right here. And then we're going to search for 21. Okay, that's what we do. And this one here, we start with the root as well, but we're going to search for 33, which doesn't exist. Okay, let's see what's going to be returned. Let's see. So let's do the first one. We're going to say we start with N28 and then search for 21. So start with this particular node here, and then you can see that 21 is actually less than 28. So that means we should go to the left, right here. And then as soon as we get here, we can see that 21 equals 21. We have found it, right? So we're going to return just this node. This is node we're going to return. So that's why you will see that return value is simply N21, exactly here, aliasing. Right? We just emphasize the point, reinforce, revisit what we said earlier. All right, so that's the first one. What about the second one? Let's say we still start with the root, but we want to search for 33, which we know is going to return some external nodes. But which one is it going to return? It turns out it's going to return external node number 3. But let's see exactly how. So we still start with here, right? We start with N28, and then we look for 33. 33 is strictly larger than 28. So we should go to the right here. And then we compare 33 with 35. So 33 strictly less than 35. So we should really go to the left. And then we reach the base case, like external nodes. In which case, we're going to return just this node right here. So that's why you will see external node number 3 being returned. All right? Very nicely correspond to what we said earlier in the page, but now we see that in the Java context. And let me emphasize again, over here, if you look at external node number 3 that's being returned over here, that one there, its key value should be in between its predecessor and successor, right? What's going to be the predecessor and successor? Let's now see the in-order sequence once more. So that's the easiest way for you to really see. Okay, let's now talk about in-order traversal. In-order traversal over here. Okay, so we start with external node number 1, and then we go for 21. And we go for external node number 2, and then we go for 28, external node number 3, go for 35, and then we go for external node number 4. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? And this one is being returned. So you can see external node number 3 is right here. What can be the key value that we store in this node? It can be just in between the predecessor and successor. As you can see, this is the predecessor. And this one here is the successor. Right? Let's identify them also in the tree. As far as this node is concerned, you can see that predecessor is 28. Predecessor. And then successor is 35 right here. All right? All right, any question? Okay, good. So far we basically talk about what should be returned in the either successful or unsuccessful searches for binary search. And the next one is talk about running time. Okay, what should be, how efficient is the search? The answer right away will be, it's not necessarily log n. It may not be as efficient as like a binary search on a sorted array, but we're gonna explore how exactly. Okay, let's now talk about the running time. All right, before running time discussion, why don't we take a look at the code here, right? Let's understand the code structure, which is kind of worth our attention. So we talk about this search method here called search, right? And then that one there is going to return some BST node. And this BST node here can either be external or internal, right? Depending on whether it's successful or unsuccessful. Okay, let's make a note right away. This could be either external or internal, depending on whether the search is unsuccessful or successful. And the parameters that, or the input we take is the root somewhere and also the key we're searching for. Okay, let's now make a note. So the P here is the root in some subtree, and also the K here is the key to search. All right, so let's understand the header first. And there are 4 different cases to consider. Okay, they're not too bad. They correspond to exactly what we just said. Okay, let's go one by one. If the current node we are looking at is already external, for example, if you look before, if the node we are looking at is already here, unsuccessful, just return the external nodes, right? So that one there tells you if that's external. In that way, it's just going to return the current node P, which is external node. Okay, unsuccessful. And the second case is else if it is not external, must be internal. And we also got some matching key. That means successful search. And the P here got to be internal nodes. And this one corresponds to, for example, when we were looking for, let's say 21 here, right? Just return that internal node with the matching key. So these are the two like a base cases that we can return right away. Otherwise, we will have to recur on the tree for as deep as necessary. Okay, that's where the running time is going to get a little bit trickier to calculate, but it's not too bad, right? So let's understand about these two branches. So we got recursive case number 1. Also, we got recursive case number 2, right? They're pretty straightforward in the sense that if the key we're looking for is less than, then we go to the left. If the key is larger than, in that way, we go to the right. Very straightforward, right? And of course, for both of them, we're going to call the same method for recursive call, right? Search. Okay. So the code structure itself is not too bad, right? So you can kind of understand that. Very similar to binary search on the array. So what we need to work out is how many levels should we really go down for the recursive call? That's really what's going to dominate the running time. Okay, let's now abstract that into some diagram here. Let's now compare. Oh, sorry. Let me make a little bit more space for myself. Let's say this is my binary search tree in general, right? Let's say I'm now at level I, somewhere in the middle. Okay, let's say I here, and then, so let's say I'm now in level I, and then the current node I'm looking at is P. So now based on the P value, let's say I don't really have the two base cases here. Let's say I kind of don't have them satisfied. Now I should either go to the left or I should go to the right. What's the running time for one level down? If I'm now in level I, in order for me to get to level I plus 1, what will be the work involved? That's the thing we want to work out. Okay, let's now take a look. So if I want to go down, oh, beg your pardon. If we want to go down one level to level I plus 1, okay, let's call that over here level I plus 1, right? Let's say we go to the left, let's say, okay? What we do is we simply go to the left, right? Right here. What's really involved over here? If we go to the left, that means we go for this particular branch. If you, well, remember we count the primitive operation, right, from before. Comparison, and also we got to go to the left. Basically two things, right? So what's involved is, number one, we have to compare the key value we are looking for versus the key of the current node P. Comparison, less than or greater than, right? Either way. And number two, once we decide whether we should go to the left or go to the right, we have to say get left or get right, which is just a reference, right? Either get left or get right. Either, but not both. However, both of them are constant operation. Agree? They are not complicated. So overall, if you want to move one level down, it will just be big of 1. Let's now compare this a little bit with how we work out the merge sort algorithm running time. We kind of said, you go from the original list, that's kind of n size. How many levels would it take for you to split the list all the way down to a singleton list? We work out how many levels are there. And then we work out for each level, what's the running time for the merge. And we kind of multiply them together. We do something very similar over here. We know that in order to do search on the binary search, when we go from one level down, we have to involve constant time operation. But another question is, how many levels should we go down in the worst case? That's the question. How many levels should we go down? Should it be log n necessarily? Or should it be n? Which sounds very expensive. Is there a more accurate measure for us to mention here? That's an important question here. Okay? Let me give you guys a little bit hints before I tell you the answer, right? So if you recall back in the lecture where we talk about binary tree, right? We talk about different bounds for the binary tree measure. We'll talk about either n, the number of nodes, or what's the other measure? H, the height. This is where we can use the height as the accurate measure. So the number of levels you may have to go down all the way to the bottom will be just the h. But the h itself has some lower bound, also has some higher bound. All right? So that's something we're going to see. Okay, so there are 3 ways to express this running time. Okay? Whenever you go down one level, it's going to require big of 1. But how many levels should we go down? Exactly h. So the answer will be the most accurate one. I'll say answer number 1 is going to be big O of h. So this is the most accurate bound on the search, just about h, depending on how high the tree is. So this is what we call a tight and also accurate bound. Tight and accurate. Okay, number 1. But we can say a little bit more. Given that it's h, we know what's the lower bound and what's the upper bound for the heights, right? And there's something I want you guys to maybe revisit just for a few minutes, maybe before before Thursday's lecture. Okay, I'll put it here. You may actually want to revisit one of the previous slides about the bounds. So revisit, given n nodes, given n nodes. And we know that the height should be in between two numbers over here. And I want you to go back there to see what exactly are those two numbers. I think that'll be also useful as a revisit for your exam, right? But I'm going to mention the asymptotic bounds anyway, right now, right? It's more like approximation, okay? So for answer number 2, we can say that the best case for a search is log n, because we know that the lower bound is about log n, okay? Big O of log n. And this one is what we call the best case or lower bound. Okay? And then another way to say that would be, what's the worst case? That would be basically the upper bound right here. So that would be big O of n. And that one there is going to be what we call the worst case for the search, or you can say that's an upper bound for the search. Oh, okay, recap. When we are trying to work out the running time for the search on a binary search tree, abstractly speaking, you want to think about whenever we go down one level by going to the left or to the right, it's going to involve some comparison and some attribute access to the left or the right. It's going to be constant time. Every time go down one level. But how many levels should we go down maximum? It depends on the height of the tree. So that's why that's the most accurate bound for the search. However, the height itself may have some lower bound and upper bound depending on how the tree is structured. That's something we'll see as well. Okay, it can be either log n or n, depends. All right, any question about this? Yes?
If you choose the median as the root, can you ensure that you always have like a...
Good question here. Well, you might be thinking a little bit more like a pivot, right? Like a quick sort. Put it this way. Depends on how you actually construct a binary search tree, or also how you do the insertion deletion. The tree itself may not have the height being log n. So it's not just about choosing the median, because you don't necessarily know about all the value you want to put into the tree at one go. You may want to go gradual insertion or deletion, right? Which I'll mention a little bit later. So it's kind of beyond the scope for this course, but I'll mention very briefly. So for binary search tree itself, we kind of will identify to see when it kind of become unbalanced. So you got a height that's really high, like a linear. In 3101, like a subsequent course to this one here, we'll learn about as soon as you identify that your tree becomes unbalanced, there's got to be some repair operation you're going to do. It's something called rotation, which we don't cover in this course, but maybe in 3101. Okay. Yeah. All right, good. Okay, let me see. Okay, guys, how about we do one more page of a comparison, and then we'll take a short break. Okay, just one more. I think the next page is going to clarify things even more.